What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. My name is Lucas Wenzel, and today we are talking about 10 players that you should be looking to stash ahead of this weekend's slate and ahead of next week's waivers as well. But before we dive into any of that, if you want your chance at winning a signed Deebo Samuel San Francisco 49ers jersey, courtesy of bettingpros.com, your place to start betting smarter and not harder, you need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. We'll be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to come claim your prize when we announce it. First up is Kendre Miller, running back for the New Orleans Saints, rostered in 20% of leagues. Jamal Williams suffered a hamstring injury against the Panthers on Monday night, and he's trending towards missing Week 3 against the Green Bay Packers. Alvin Kamara is still suspended, and while Tony Jones Jr. could still be a factor, Kendre should get significant run against the Packers this week. They've allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to the position this year and have given up at least 17 fantasy points to a running back each week this year. After working back from a hamstring injury of his own, this is the perfect week for Kendre Miller to make his NFL debut. Next up is Houston Texans wide receiver Robert Woods, who's rostered in 16% of leagues. This is not a sexy name, but sometimes we have to get down and dirty to uncover the truth about some of these waiver wire stashes. Nico Collins has been the talk of this Texans offense over the first 2 weeks, but Robert Woods has quietly earned 9+ targets in both games and saw his snap share increase from 75% to 86% in week 2. CJ Stroud has looked better than expected in his first 2 games of NFL action, and Robert Woods has been a great safety blanket for him. In a matchup where the Texans will have to throw to keep up with the Jaguars, I'd expect Robert Woods to have another 9+ target day with upside to find the end zone and even launch him into a top 24 finish. Third, we have Zach Evans, running back for the Los Angeles Rams, who's rostered in only 1% of leagues. With Cam Akers being traded to the Vikings earlier this week, Zach Evans now finds himself as the running back 2 for this Rams offense. After seeing only a 65% snap share in week 1, I find it hard to believe Sean McVay wants to continue giving Kyren Williams the 95% snap share he saw in week 2. If there's one thing we've begun to learn about Sean McVay, is that you can't trust in knowing which running back he's going to feed on a given week. Will the primary continue to be Kyren Williams? Yeah, most likely, but Zach Evans could be entrusted with an opportunity that's worth stashing on your roster. My next stash is New England Patriots wide receiver Devontae Parker, who's rostered in 3% of leagues. Now here's your crazy stat of the week. Mac Jones, he's on pace for 815 pass attempts this year. Now that will definitely regress to the mean, but the Patriots have needed to chuck the ball around the yard to keep up with both the Eagles and the Dolphins. After missing week 1 with a knee issue, Parker reaped the benefits last week, catching 6 passes on 8 targets for 57 yards on a 100% snap share. The latter is what I am most interested in, as there wasn't a single snap that Parker wasn't out on the field for. If he is the Patriots' top wide receiver moving forward, and if they continue to pass at a high rate, Parker could find himself voluming his way into fantasy relevance. I always want to highlight a tight end stash in case you're in a bind on a given week, and this week's is Cade Otton, tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's rostered in only 2% of leagues. Otton has been on the field a ton for the first 2 games. He's playing 97% of the team snaps in both outings. In week 1, it didn't amount to much, but in week 2, he caught all 6 of his targets for 41 yards. Todd Bowles even said after week 2 that they can't rely on just Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Otton could be in for another high volume week against the Eagles, who are getting gashed by tight ends for 26 fantasy points per game this year. In case you care, that's the most in the league by 6 fantasy points. Coming in at number 6 is Craig Reynolds, running back for the Detroit Lions, who's rostered in 2% of leagues. The reports around David Montgomery's injured quad have been quite literally all over the place. He's day to day, he's out for a few weeks. Honestly, we just don't know. Regardless of if he suits up or not in week 3, I'd expect Craig Reynolds to get some run in. When we saw Montgomery exit last week's game, we saw Reynolds fill his role directly. Now I think we can all agree Jahmyr Gibbs is the better back than Craig Reynolds, but if the Lions get to the goal line and Montgomery doesn't suit up for this game, Reynolds may be the guy to stumble in for 6. At the end of the day, you have to stash Craig Reynolds until we know how healthy David Montgomery actually is or is not. Next up is Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Calvin Austin, who's rostered in 2% of leagues. I know it's tough to stomach rostering any wide receiver on this Pittsburgh Steelers offense besides George Pickens, but the case is there for Calvin Austin. With Deontay Johnson on IR, Austin saw his snaps rise 20% in week 2 from 56 to 76%. He also drew one more target than Allen Robinson, who played 27 more snaps than him. One of these second options could pop against the Raiders this week, and if Austin continues to see his snaps rise, he could be worth stashing before your league mates run to the waiver wire on Monday. 8th on this list is Miami Dolphins running back Devon Achane, who's rostered in 36% of leagues. Achane finally saw the field last week, but only earned a single carry on 10% of the snaps. So why do I think he's worth stashing? I don't know how sustainable it is for Raheem Mostert to play 73% of the snaps and keep pace for 240 rushing attempts this year. He's never had more than 181 in a season. Some of that, yes, has to do with Jeff Wilson landing on IR, but I wouldn't be surprised in the least if Mike McDaniel starts to alleviate work from Mostert and ease Devon Achane into the fold of this offense. It may take a week or two to fully develop, but considering he's the highest rostered player on this list, others may be along the same line of thinking, and you can get ahead of the curve now. Another tight end that would be worth stashing this week is Taysom Hill, tight end for the New Orleans Saints. He's rostered in only 14% of leagues, and I'm somewhat surprised. He had 9 carries against the Panthers on Monday night. And if Jamal Williams is going to miss time, or Kendre Miller ends up not being 100% healthy in his debut, Taysom Hill could find himself with double-digit carries and multiple opportunities at the goal line. Now, again, Tony Jones Jr. could come in and score twice, but Taysom Hill is such a valuable Swiss Army knife for this team, and in a favorable matchup with the Packers, they could look to exploit their weakness against the run with the human tank that Taysom Hill is. Rounding out our waiver stashes this week is Marvin Mims Jr., wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, who's rostered in 26% of leagues. The main reason Mims isn't higher on this list is because he's only seen 4 targets on the season and hasn't topped 27% of the team snaps in a single game. Now, that being said, the Broncos could certainly find a way to get him out on the field more after exploding for 56.5 yards per reception in week 2. Obviously, that number is nowhere near sustainable, but this Broncos offense isn't entirely fixed, and Sean Payton could look to make a few tweaks to favor the rookie his regime traded up into the second round to draft this year. It may be a long shot, but these are the explosive, high upside guys you should be looking to stash week to week. Alrighty, that is all I have for you today. Remember, if you want your chance at winning a signed Deebo Samuel San Francisco 49ers jersey, courtesy of bettingpros.com, your place to start betting smarter and not harder. You need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that is it. That is all you need to do, my friends. We will be announcing a winner this week on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to come claim your prize when we announce it.